Hello, it's Mascara again. I'm going to read a story to you called I'm in Charge of Celebrations. It's written by Bird Baylor. The reason I chose this story is because right now during coronavirus and shelter in place, there's a lot of challenging things going on. We're having a lot of unpleasant feelings, feeling sad or lonely or frustrated, right? And that's okay. It's absolutely okay to have those feelings. At the same time, we can also find joy always, no matter what. And so this week we did mindful eating, and that's joyful, right? And tasting your food, really having a good experience with your meal. And so I'm going to read this story because this is a way of looking at ways to celebrate that are a little bit different from what we normally think of as a celebration. So I'm in Charge of Celebrations by Bird Baylor. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you lonely out there with just desert around you? So this is a person who lives in the desert. I guess they mean the bear grass and the yuccas and the cactus and the rocks. I guess they mean the deep ravines and the hawk nests in the cliffs and the coyote trails that wind across the hills. Lonely? I can't help laughing when they ask me that. I always look at them surprised. And I say, how could I be lonely? I'm the one in charge of celebrations. I am the one in charge. Sometimes they don't believe me, but it's true. I am. I put myself in charge. I choose my own. Last year, I gave myself 108 celebrations, besides the ones that they closed school for. I cannot get by with only a few. Friend, I'll tell you how it works. I'll keep a notebook and I write the date and then I write about the celebration. I'm very choosy over what goes in that book. It has to be something I plan to remember the rest of my life. You can tell what's worth a celebration because your heart will pound and you'll feel like you're standing on top of a mountain and you'll catch your breath like you were breathing some new kind of air. Otherwise, I count it just as an average day. I told you I was choosy. Friend, I wish you'd have been there for Dust Devil Day. But since you weren't, I'll tell you how it got to be my first real celebration. You can call them whirlwinds if you want to. Me, I think Dust Devils has a better sound. Well, anyway, I always stop to watch them. Here, everyone does. You know how they come from far away, moving up from the flats, swirling and swaying and falling and turning and picking up sticks and sand and feathers and dry tumbleweeds? Well, last March 11th, we were all going somewhere. I was in the back of a pickup truck when the dust devils started to gather. You could see they were giants. You'd swear they were calling their friends to come too, and they came, dancing in time to their own windy music. We all started counting. We all started looking for more. They stopped that truck and we turned around and around watching them all. There were 7. So you see their little truck parked and watching. At a time like that, something goes kind of crazy in you. You have to run to meet them, yelling all the way. You have to whirl around like you were one of them, and you can't stop until you're falling down. And then all day you think how lucky you were to be there. Some of my best celebrations are sudden surprises like that. If you weren't outside at that exact moment, you'd miss them. I spent a lot of time outside myself looking around. Once I saw a triple rainbow that ended in a canyon where I'd been the day before. I was halfway up a hill standing in a drizzle of rain. It was almost dark, but I wouldn't go in because of the rainbows, of course. And there at the top of the hill, a jackrabbit was standing up on his hind legs, perfectly still, looking straight at that same triple rainbow. I may be the only person in the world who's seen a rabbit standing in the mist, quietly watching 3 rainbows. That's worth a celebration anytime. I wrote it down and drew the hill and the rabbit and the rainbow and me. Now, August 9th is Rainbow Celebration Day. So there's her drawing. I have Green Cloud Day. 2, ask somebody and they'll tell you clouds aren't green, But late one winter afternoon, I saw this huge green cloud. It was not bluish green or grayish green or something else. This cloud was green. Green as jungle parrot. And the strange thing was that it began to take a parrot's shape. First the wings and then the head and beak. High in the winter sky, that green bird flew. It didn't last more than a minute. You know how fast a cloud can change, but I still remember how it looked. So I celebrate green clouds on February 6th. At times like that, I always think, what if I'd missed it? What if I'd been in the house? Or what if I hadn't looked up when I did? You can see I'm very lucky about things like that. And I was lucky on Coyote Day, because out of all time, it had to be one moment only that a certain coyote and I could meet, and we did. Friend, you should have been there too. I was following deer tracks, taking my time, bending down as I walked, kind of humming. I hum a lot when I'm alone. I looked up in time to see a young coyote trotting through the bush. She crossed in front of me. It was a windy day and she was going east. In that easy, silent way coyotes move, she pushed into the wind. I stood there, hardly breathing, wishing I could move that way. I was surprised to see her stop and turn and look at me. She seemed to think that I was just another creature following another rocky trail. That's true, of course I am. She didn't hurry. She wasn't afraid. I saw her eyes and she saw mine. That look held us together. Because of that, I never will feel quite the same again. So on September 28th, I celebrate Coyote Day. Here's what I do. I walk the trail I walk that day, and I hum softly as I go. Finally, I unwrap the feast I've brought for her. Last time, it was 3 apples and some pumpkin seeds and an ear of corn and some big, soft, homemade ginger cookies. The next day, I happened to pass that way again. Coyote tracks went all around the rock where the food had been, and the food was gone. Next year, I'll make it even better. I'll bring an extra feast and eat there too. Another one of my greatest of all celebrations is called the Time of Falling Stars. It lasts almost a week in the middle of August, and I wait all year for those hot summer nights when the sky goes wild. You can call them meteor showers if you want to. Me, I like to say they're falling stars. All that week I sleep outside. I give my full attention to the sky, and every time a streak of light goes shooting through the darkness, I feel my heart shoot out of me. One night I saw a fireball that left a long red blazing trail across the sky. After it was gone, I stood there looking up, not quite believing what I'd seen. The strange thing was I met a man who told me he had seen it too, while he was lying by a campfire 500 miles away. He said he did not sleep again that night. Suddenly it seemed that we too spoke a language no one else could understand. Every August of my life, I'll think of that. Friend, I've saved my New Year celebration until last. Mine is a little different from the one most people have. It comes in spring. To tell the truth, I never did feel like my New Year started January 1st. To me, that's just another winter day. I let my year begin when winter ends and morning light comes earlier, the way it should. That's when I feel like starting new. I wait until the white-winged doves are back from Mexico and wildflowers cover the hills and my favorite cactus blooms. It always makes me think I ought to bloom myself. And that's when I start to plan my New Year celebration. I finally choose a day that is exactly right. Even the air has to be perfect and the dirt has to feel good and warm on bare feet. Usually it's a Saturday around the end of April. I have a drum that I beat to signal the day. Then I go wandering off following all of my favorite trails to all of the places I like. I check how everything is doing. I spend the day admiring things. If the old desert tortoise I know from last year is out strolling around, I'll go his direction a while. I celebrate with horned toads, ravens, and lizards and quail. And friend, it's not a bad party. Walking back home, kind of humming, sometimes I think about those people who ask me if I'm lonely here. I have to laugh out loud. All right, the end. So in this story, this child, I think it's a young person, they make their own celebrations. What did they celebrate? They celebrated the wind, the whirlwinds that happened. They celebrated the rainbows. They celebrated spring coming. They celebrated seeing an animal on the road. What are ways that we can celebrate right now? Here are some ideas. What if we wake up early in the morning and we watch the sun rise? What if in the evening we set ourselves up and we go outside and we look outside the window or outside on the porch or outside on the stoop and we look outside and we watch the sun set? Have you ever encountered a hummingbird? Have you ever been standing in sun by some flowers and a hummingbird comes by? Or maybe a bee and you can watch it buzz around? Or have you sat outside and watched different things fly by? What are some ways that you can celebrate right now? We can celebrate eating our meal mindfully, right? We can celebrate waking up in the morning. So let's try this week to look for some things that we can celebrate in our life, okay? All the beautiful things that are there all the time. All right, thank you for listening.